going. This is great. We love to have a full room. We don't often get a full room, so this is like a big treat for us. Especially for me, because I like to see people at our meeting, because it's important that you attend and learn what's going on. I guess I'll start with how we got here today, kind of what spurred this on. So for the first time, and I think this is what brought up this front and center to the transfer station committee, and I know this has been a passionate discussion for years for John Daigle, was we eclipsed $1 million for the transfer station budget. Now, there's a lot of reasons to that. Tipping fees have gone up astronomically over the last few years. We closed our construction debris. We ran out of room, and we no longer can take our own construction debris in and dispose of it. Transportation costs for transporting the garbage have gone up. You know, as all of us know, the prices of things have gone up. So the transfer station committee, and there haven't always been this makeup of the committee. Bubble, Lee, I think this is your first meeting. So beginning to speak about these things and to talk about the budget, and is there a way we can do this better? What are the ideas? What do the people have? Does anybody have any ideas? What started it in Waldoboro was Bob brought back feedback from the transfer station committee that they'd like to have some discussions about having $1 million budget. Now, this isn't the first time the transfer station has been talked about. And I don't think this is a pay as you throw discussion. But when the last time this was discussed was in 2015 and 2016, and pay as you throw was a discussion back then. I was not here for that discussion, so I don't really know much about those discussions at all. But I think what we want to start off with today is number one, and I was given from the transfer station committee a couple of things, and Bob has asked me to moderate today's meeting of the Minds workshop discussion. And we're here, the transfer station committee is here to listen to what people have to say and what you think is a problem or maybe not a problem. Because I think we need to learn from each other on what the best way to proceed is. One of the big things that is apparent, and it's not just Waldoboro. I don't want anybody to think that this is just a Waldoboro problem. A report came out in the beginning of this year about the state of trash in the state of Maine. It is between 2018 and 2022, municipal solid waste increased by 47%. That's huge. That's a huge, and that's statewide. The average person, because this is based on a per person ton, went from 0.55 tons to 0.77 tons. People are recycling less. The construction debris, what we would call CCD, is up 34%. And this is statewide, not just Waldoboro, but it's not just happening in Waldoboro, it's happening all over. And we saw that. We saw, especially during the first year of COVID, trash increased significantly. And of course, recycling decreased significantly. And we've never actually really recovered from that dip in recycling. And some of that, you can't just blame all of that on COVID. Some of that is we lost the markets. And I don't think we can skip over or gloss over the fact that we don't recycle what we used to take. If you'll recall, I mean, even, and I'm from away, when I came here, there used to be a lot of different bins that you put a lot of different plastics in, and now we're down to only recycling 2, right? Number 2. Yeah. So Some of that isn't COVID related, it's money related. It's about how, to some extent, maybe, we were getting rid of recycling and it felt good, but where it was going maybe doesn't feel so good now. It really wasn't truly recyclable. It was just taken off to some place that wasn't here. So, there's a lot of different tentacles to all of this that we can discuss. And I'm sure this will not be our only meeting, but I will try to get the ball rolling based on the questions. So the first item we have on here is, do we have a problem if recycling rates have decreased from 30% pre-COVID to 15% today? And the total tonnage of trash tipped has gone from 2,500 tons to 3,500 tons. So that's one question. How do we pay for trash disposal? Is it fair to say that we use a community approach to sharing the cost of trash disposal? I pay for your garbage, you pay for my garbage, everybody's happy, is that fair? What if somebody throws away 3 tons a year and you throw only 1 ton away? I'm sorry.
No, just one thing that maybe you said, and I was trying to get everything down, is the fact that the stuff we do recycle and can recycle, there's a total different cost associated with that than the rest of the trash. So, recycling is really important if something can be done about it, because it really affects the total financial, what'd you say?
Total the weight that we
Yeah.
ship, yeah, absolutely, and tip. So there are two
So-
factors there, the tipping fee and the transport cost.
So I think the foundation, how we'd like to start is talking about recycling and the fact that recycling and the lack of has driven, there's also a cost if we're not recycling to driving up the cost of disposing of the trash. So I believe, did you want to start?
Sure,
from there?
so I'm really interested in hearing from you. How many of you here think we have a problem? Just raise your hand. We're spending too much money to get rid of our garbage. I'd say that's most of us, but certainly not all of us. And how many would agree that the decline in the recycling rate has not helped us? Recycling less has in fact made us pay more to get rid of what we get rid of. Would you agree with that as well? Okay. So what we currently pay for the trash that we dispose of is basically 2 factors, and I'm being very, very general here, but basically the cost of getting it up to where we tip it and the cost of tipping it. And I think John has pointed out in the past, those numbers, I mean, it used to be what, $400 a load, John?
Yep.
Now it's $123 a load. It used to be $77 to tip, and now it's over $90 to tip. And that tipping rate's going to go up every single year with a CPI, with a consumer price index. It's not going to go down unless we have deflation in this country. So those are the 2 variables I think that we contend with. The third one is the approach that Julie talked about. We sort of operate on a community, sort of an honor system basis. You pay for my trash, I'll pay for yours, and I'll be reasonable about what I throw in the hopper. There is an honor system there, implied or stated. And we all pay our taxes, and the taxes cover the cost of everything. Whether you hire a hauler or not isn't factored into this, because if you hire a hauler, that's a separate deal between you and the hauler. You have a choice. You can hire a hauler who collects it and brings it up here, or you can bring it yourself. But that hauler is not charging you for tipping it or hauling it to where we dispose of it. The only thing he's doing is charging you to pick it up from your home and to bring it to the transfer station, and maybe to help you sort it too. Some of these guys do a lot of stuff when they're hauling for customers.
There is if the recycling quota is not met, there is a fee that we are paying for the transfer station.
At the
Yeah,
transfer
and-
station.
Right.
That's right.
We do pay a fee.
Yep, okay.
Haulers pay.
Yes, the
Yep.
haulers do pay if they don't meet the recycling requirements, which hasn't, it's been harder to meet.
And it's what, like 18% now?
Their average now is about 15,
15%?
they're not making the 18.
Well,
We have a question.
Could you just clarify, how much of a discount or pass that the callers get if they have a 30% recyclables? What, it used to be 30%.
Right.
How do you judge it now? Is it still the same? So if they come in with a load, 30% is their recyclable, then they don't have to pay any fee to deposit trash.
And that hasn't happened since COVID.
that was suspended.
That was suspended down to 18%. And they having problems meeting that. Right now, they're down the biggest part of 15, 14. So anything under 18 percent, we charge them for.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it that there are many things that could be recycled that are going into the trash, or that we cannot recycle as many things as we used to be?
We used to be on recycling, we used to be over 800 ton. Now this year we'll be lucky if we make 300 tons. And the cost just for the trash, the building, the trailers, and everything else taken into account is $144 a ton. That's what's running the transfer stations costing us. So when you don't get, the extra tonnage, you're paying for it. You're paying for every bit of it.
So her question though was, is it because we're not recycling as much by choice? So people aren't recycling as much, or we're just not recycling.
Except and I have talked with Tim over Lincoln County, see if they'll take it. But that only averaged 25 ton a year, so that's not it. Everything else we're still recycling.
So it's basically people aren't recycling.
People are throwing away stuff they could recycle.
For example, people, bags, leaves, there's no reason to throw them down the hopper. We have an area, we collect the leaves, we compost it. Throwing bags of leaves, had Ben, had a guy, had a toilet, put it in a plastic bag. People throwing metal, wood, everything.
If it'll fit in a plastic bag, they'll put it in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when fiberite comes into effect, we will be running into problems. Because there will be contaminated loads that we can't take care of. So I can imagine the price is gonna go up even more.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Could you just repeat the last thing you said? I couldn't hear it back here.
It was about fiber, right?
Yeah, what is that? Yeah.
Fiberite's a new company.
Maybe you can stand up, John, you're a little.
It's actually Municipal Waste Solutions.
Yeah. So Fiberite's a new company, Municipal Waste Solution, which we've agreed to take our trash to. Some plastics, some different types of wood, they will not be accepted. They will not accept porcelain or anything like that. And we try to keep that out of the waste stream from going there. Ends up going in a trailer and it's crushed. They will not be happy for them to try to clean that out, and I imagine there'll be a cost to that.
Thank you.
One thing that is not clear to me is on the recycling side, is the recycling just a cost that is lower than disposing of trash? or is it actual income? So it's,
Recycling helps us in the cost. Recycling really doesn't cost us anything to get rid of. So, like I said, the trash roughly is costing us $144 a ton to get rid of. Recycling doesn't cost us anything.
but it doesn't generate an income. So increasing recycling does not compensate.
The increase in recycling, what it does, it keeps people from throwing the trash out. You know,
Right.
there's more recycling.
Increasing recycling changes the mix.
Right.
So you're trucking less out.
If the amount of trash remains the same, like I said, increasing the recycling, that's not generating. It just doesn't cost us anything.
This doesn't cost us. Yeah.
Mike, you've had your hand up.
Yeah, I just, we're looking at the source reduction aspect of this, but one of the things that, as I've studied this problem, is that the end disposal technology, MRC built a resource recovery facility. It's actually what it is.
Yep.
And they separate out the plastic, and a lot of waste is not sorted at a transfer station. A lot of it is just single stream recycling. And so they can do the recycling off-site rather than doing it here. That's been shut down for a considerable period of time, and it's just now getting started back up again. And a portion of that they're going to be generating some synthetic natural gas, I guess, or recyclable.
They'll put in some anaerobic digesters that will produce renewable natural gas. That's right.
Food waste part of the trash into methane, which would be injected into the natural gas mains distributed throughout the state. Another large end user for trash was PERC, which was an MSW incinerator, and I was just studying this recently too. Apparently they have shut down. So, you've got a limited number of places. MRC was shut down for a period of time, now PERC is shut down, and basically it's all going on a landfill in Skowhegan, or is there?
Different landfills, yeah.
Yeah, mostly different landfills, but
Yep.
there's a big one in Skowhegan. So part of the reason the costs are going up, well, is the normal inflation too, but the competitive market, people are generating trash and they want to put it somewhere, and so you pay through the nose if there's a limited number
And
of spots to take it.
Another issue that we're having is that they're not allowing sludge anymore to be spread because of the PFAS. So what they were saying in this one study was that there is that takes up a lot of space in landfills, and the legislature had actually prohibited out-of-state garbage coming in.
Right.
But to stabilize that sludge, they have now had to allow some in I think it was Juniper Ridge to be stabilized. I don't know how sludge is stabilized, but apparently they use garbage to do it. But it was interesting in that that's part of what's driving some of that increase. And you're right, they said that was a major factor in driving costs up.
So to recap just a little bit, I think the principle still remains. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. But if we're not tracking it up north to some plant or to a landfill, and instead putting it where it can be recycled and maybe repurposed in some cases, or reducing the weight that we send up in the trucks, and we're reducing the weight that we pay to tip. That means that we spend less money. There are a lot of other issues related to disposing of trash in general. That plant up in Hampton, Maine will be back up and running in 2026. It's running now on an experimental basis. They want to get it right this time. But that shouldn't affect what we do here. That's the other end of the line. What we do here is what's in our power to do and what we have the ability to do. Obviously, we want it to be disposed of in the most economical and useful way possible. But when we make decisions in our homes, do I toss this in the garbage can? Or do I toss this in the recycling bin? That basic decision carries over into how much we put in our hopper and transport and how much we send to Lincoln County to be recycled. And that has a direct impact on the cost of our transfer station. Yes, ma'am.
Construction or demolition debris factor into this, or is this a totally separate thing?
That is charged separately. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. We charge a separate price for
That's
that.
separate.
That's not tipped. They don't accept it up there. They won't take it. So we can't ship it and we don't pay to have it shipped.
I think the question is, I think everyone agrees that we need to recycle more.
I think they are, yeah.
Okay? So the question is, how do we get people to recycle? more?
Yeah.
And this is why we're looking for input.
Sandy?
So my question is it our cost to send the recyclable stuff to Lincoln, or is it something that they automatically do?
There is a cost that Lincoln County
in our
charges
taxes.
in
I
our
mean,
taxes,
it's on our county taxes.
yeah, through the county taxes.
It's not an extra expense one way or the other then.
That's not entirely the case. If I may refine that just a little bit, Lincoln County picks it up and doesn't charge us anything. And they take it to their facility. They sort it if we haven't sorted it right, and they sell it. They have operating costs there. They have to buy equipment to do the compressing and stuff. So they have capital costs and they have operating costs. To the extent that their revenue stream doesn't cover those costs, we pay for that through our taxes. But if that recycling center weren't there, we'd be shipping all that stuff up.
Same every year, or does it fluctuate on what they need?
Fluctuates with the market.
Fluctuates, yeah.
Maybe in the back.
I'm sorry, you had mentioned the sorting costs. Is one thing that I think that would make it a lot easier for people to recycle is I just moved back home, grew up here, but he's from the south and they don't recycle anything. And just the simple fact of if he could put the cleaned out can in with the milk jug and send that, a lot of people would recycle a lot more. I think it's the inconvenience of doing things like that. Like, is there, how much more are you charged to submit to Lincoln County if all the bottles aren't together? What's the fee for it?
John?
You can do single stream recycling, but there's a cost. It's not free. It's $35 a ton. If there's, I think, 6% contamination in the load, you end up paying the $200 a ton. Our little 30-yard containers that we have up there, my guys keep going over them all the time. They're getting contamination and pulling it out every day. So, if we turned around, built another compactor for the single stream, we'd probably have $250,000 to $300,000 in cost for that. And then, at that price of $35 a ton, and then, you gotta figure transportation costs will be $25 a ton. You're up there, it's gonna cost quite a bit. Wiscasset went through this, they thought it was a good thing for 2 years. They had upgrades their facility and everything else, and then they couldn't afford it. There's too much contamination.
The gentleman right
We do recycle some is not off, but we were able to crush our beer cans. So you're not carrying a big bag with only 20 beer cans instead of 100.
Hmm.
That makes it a lot easier.
But that's
I mean, that's just one thing.
Yep, but the beer cans, we usually set aside. And we recycle them for 5 cents. And we turn around and donate it to whoever needs.
Is there any way to incentivize other items? I mean,
Not that I
Clink, when
can-
you go to Clink, you get your money for the 5 cent stuff, but why can't the state or start to say, you get a penny for a plastic milk carton, and 5 cents for 10 cans or something? I don't know.
No,
It's clean.
So I think the incentives are a good idea, but they're just gonna go to the people that are already recycling. I think what's necessary is to reach those that are not, and I speak for experience.
Mhm.
I have relatives that don't recycle just because they have to.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't care. In your, I don't know if you sent the email, but in the introduction to this meeting, the page drop was mentioned. And I think that is just kicking the can down the road, because if you just charge someone for the extra, for the bag or the extra bag, then next year we're gonna be sitting here saying, okay, we have to increase prices again. What we need to do is really what you said. We need to, in a way, force people to recycle more and produce less trash. In my opinion, the only way to do it is to impose a strict policy per household based on the number of people, of how many bags they can produce. And that way, automatically, they're gonna move the recycling to where it's supposed to be. But it's not like you go over your quota and you pay and you still throw. You go over your quota, you keep it in your basement. That to me is the only way to do it, because otherwise the people will just show up with their checkbook because they can. And we're not gonna solve the problem that they were swimming in. We are swimming in trash, literally. So since people don't do it, well, I mean, I know that we're here talking about money, but money is not the only issue. Sorry, there's more to it. I mean, there is some good citizenship, the environment protection. I mean, we live in a beautiful part of the country. We can't not just allow people to throw out whatever and then pay for it because they don't care.
The gentleman in the back.
Yeah, I'd
He's
like
the
to
first.
speak to this a little bit. My name's Wayne Robinson. I'm new to Cushing, a 30-year previous resident of Freeport, Maine. But one of my former jobs, I was the recycling coordinator for the University of Southern Maine for about 7 years. Forcing people to recycle just does not work. I can speak to that. I can feel your pain with some of this stuff. I managed a waste stream for about 14,000 people. Back then it was a little different. Recyclables were a commodity. Cardboard was worth about $110 a ton. It was pretty easy to sell. I do like the idea of pay as you throw, because it does allow people to make that decision. Do I want to pay $1 a bag to throw it away? Or can I recycle some and pay for half as many bags? That's how they did it in the town of Freeport. I never had a problem going there and using my punch card for 2 or 3 bags of trash every other week. It's not a big deal, and we recycle probably half of our household stream. But there does need to be some sort of financial incentive to do it.
So Susan Price, I've lived here for 25 years, raised my kids here and worked in the school system. And last month, April, there were a lot of lessons within elementary schools that talked about recycling and reusing and so on. And a lot of kids did not know that you can recycle glass jars. They did not know that cans can be recycled. So I think educating with kids, but also letting people know about what's out there to help them recycle. We have a compost pile at my house. I know a lot of people have the black bins. There's another cycle of grants coming up in the fall from Maine.gov, I think. Where if people don't want a compost in their yard and would prefer it to be hidden, perhaps we could do a grant to get some of those and get them out to people. I think people need to be educated. I am for pay as you throw, it's called, because I think someone talked about incentivizing people, and I think that would be an incentive. It is a pain to have to sort everything. I agree, but I have to say that there's 2 adults, my daughter and I, in the household, and we have someone come and pick it up every 2 weeks, and we do a contractor's bag every 2 weeks. It can be done. It just the mindset of getting into that habit. And just getting some, education out there as to what can be recycled, maybe people don't know what's recycled.
Brendan, you had your hand up.
Yeah, Julie earlier mentioned there's a 1,000-ton increase in the amount of trash that's being disposed, right? John, you were just saying that there's been about a 500-ton decrease in the amount that's going out to recycling, right?
Yeah.
And over what kind of year span are we talking about here?
Since COVID.
Since
20.
COVID,
Yeah.
so 5
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
or so. All
Yeah.
right, so population growth hasn't occurred in our 3 towns here to cover that additional 500 tons worth of trash that's being disposed of, right? So this is additional trash that's coming from us, from another waste stream. That is probably not going to be reduced that much by recycling. Some of it can be recycled. But that extra 500 tons, the difference between what you're not recycling and 1,000 tons that you're talking about, like that extra 500 tons is here now for some reason. How come we don't have a dump sticker system? So that we know that people aren't coming from other towns and dumping.
We do have a dump sticker
Really?
system, but since
I've been dumping
COVID,
there for
Yeah.
4 years, and no
Yeah.
one said word one to me
Okay.
about it.
yeah. Since COVID, all right, we haven't been allowed to go in people's vehicles.
Speak up, please.
To go in people's vehicles?
Yeah, because we have to put the sticker
You
in.
have to put the sticker on yourself?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Why is that?
I don't know. That's what the committee wanted.
So I think part of that issue, from what I was told when I first got here was, because I thought that was a little odd too, was that people were taking the stickers, asking for other stickers and then
Yeah.
giving them to other people. And so people who were not from Waldeboro, Cushing or Friendship were giving them to out of towners and they were interested.
Yeah.
Putting
Okay.
I do have to say, though, I do think that the staff knows. I think they do know who you are, they do talk to people and get to know them quite well. That, well, we have Bruce recognition. But you're right, and that might be something that we definitely, because COVID is done now.
Yeah, true.
We can start, and maybe we have to make everybody get a new sticker every year. I'm sorry.
I lived in Virginia too, and they had, when you went to DMV every year, you register your vehicle 1 or 2 years, they gave you a city sticker. It was like an inspection sticker. If you scrape it off, it's no good.
Bob.
Yeah. One of the things I think that this should go in this direction is the companies that put all this stuff out, such as plastic. Okay, it was styrofoam cups years ago, then it went to this, then it went to that, and now it's plastic bags have to go away. But they make you buy paper bags, right? And the same thing up at the dump, I've gone up there many times. I try to take my cardboard, put it in one place and all that, but I see these dump trucks come in, right? And they just back up to the deal, dump it, and there's all kinds of stuff in there. And nobody says a word to them, and in fact, I've asked Mark about it, and he said, well, that's because they pay more.
Right.
Right? But it sounds to me like they're trying to make us pay for it all over again. If they're not being recycled
Right.
there, then we're gonna end up paying for it, right? It's just like the metal. Okay, I know you get money for the metal, because
Oh,
I
yeah.
take metal to the dump myself.
Yeah.
I mean, not to the dump, but to the metal place.
Yeah.
The cardboard you make pretty good money on too.
I don't make a cent on cardboard.
I find that hard to believe, to be honest with you.
I don't bail it.
It
I
goes
don't
to the
send it.
county.
It goes to
Well-
county. It's not me.
Well, we have to do something with it, so
Uh,
if you're not gonna do anything with it, then why bother recycling?
if we don't recycle it, you're gonna pay for it in the trash.
Well,
So 800-ton more times $143, $144 a ton.
Well, the
You'd
town
really be
delivery-
swapping.
they make a killing off from cardboard and whatnot,
I don't know. I don't know.
Of course, you blame everything on COVID around here. you know,
Well,
it's-
they did.
It's all COVID's fault. No, I don't buy that, John, for a second.
That's okay
Yeah,
if
we
you
went
don't
through a
find.
hard time with COVID.
Yep.
Okay, but we're out of that now.
Yep.
Now everybody's just using it for a damn excuse.
I know.
So one of the things that I think we have to understand is that the Lincoln County, we pay taxes, every town pays taxes to Lincoln County, whether they recycle or not. Lincoln County is the one who bales the, all the cardboard and sells it through them. At least that gets sold through them, so that's not something we're set up to do, but it is something the county has been set up to do, and we've taken advantage of that for a long time.
And there have been years when the county has actually paid us money.
Yeah.
Because of the
Well,
amount of
we've had
recycling
that a long
that we
time.
did. Yeah.
And we have to realize too, is that the metal money that we do get offsets some of the other expenses that we
Right.
have to pay to get rid of the TVs, the electronics.
What do you mean by that? That can't be right. Because when I go to the dump, like I did a week or two ago, I paid $40 for a mattress and
So the mattress is different than,
I
if you
understand
wanna
that,
talk
but you
about the
still have to pay
electronics.
for TVs when you go to the dump. I don't remember what it exactly is, $10 or $20
Five,
for anything electronic.
It's fine.
5.
5? Huh. Must have went down.
No, it's 5.
Anyway,
Almost had her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
I
couldn't
think
see
it's
you.
just bad management,
Ma'am.
to be honest with you.
Could be.
I'm just curious about that plastics piece. Camden and Rockport take all plastics.
Yep.
Belfast takes all plastics.
Mhm,
Thomaston has a mixed stream.
mhm,
I understand it's kind of questionable where,
mhm.
whether it really works all the time or not.
Right,
But, what do they do with their stuff?
through main resource recycling. They found an outlet to get rid of the plastic.
What
And that's-
do they do?
They found an,
Down here.
they found an outlet to get rid of the plastic,
So
place to get
it's-
rid of it.
I mean, we can't join that outlet.
We don't bail our own stuff.
What's
If
the bailing piece?
it's gotta be baled and sorted, Lincoln County does that for us,
Mm.
okay? Yeah, we're gonna talk Lincoln County and see if they're interested in doing it,
I mean,
but if they're not, there's nothing we can do.
I look at my.
Yeah.
I'm like a nutcase recycler.
Yep.
And I have bags of.
Yep.
Different bags of plastic that I
Mhm.
actually export. But,
Yep.
it's crazy, you know,
The-
I just,
The thing is, all right, you talk Belfast and you talk Camden and all them ones, they're pay as you throw also. Okay, yeah, Yeah. yeah, in state of Maine, there's like 221 licensed transfer station. 140 of them are pay as you throw now. There's a reason for that. You know, over half of them.
I would like to speak to some of this stuff, just from having had experience with it.
Mhm.
It is incredibly labor intensive to bale cardboard, to bale plastics, to find outlets for them. There needs to be a commercial end user to
Mhm.
recycle this stuff. When I did it, I had an army of simple workers, I had
Mhm.
anywhere between 18 and 25 people working part-time that
Right.
did the work. It's not an easy thing to do.
Mhm.
Some of these towns may very well be just paying extra money to get rid of it, and there's a little bit of a feel-good factor.
Sandy
had her-
had her
Yeah,
hand up.
Sandy.
this is just an off the wall question. How many hours do you think it would take to bale all this stuff ourselves? Just roughly.
It's not the hours, it's the cost. We'd have to put up another building, balers right now is over 300,000. So you're gonna put up a building, probably 5,000 square feet. I mean, yeah, you're talking $750,000.
I'm asking because they
Yeah.
said, why can't we do it?
Yeah.
I figured, well, there's a reason why we're not doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
There was a gentleman in the back, Mr. Carmichael had his hand up.
Yeah, I have a question about, one of the expenses mentioned, is increase in falling $400 to $500 as an expense to ship it somewhere else, right?
Mhm.
So are we contracting with somebody to take the trash away that increases their fees?
Yes,
Is that advantageous for the town to continue that contract without doing it itself? It's cheaper to contract.
right now,
Question.
back 5, 6 years ago, I looked into it as far as the town doing it. And I figured once it got to 150,000 for transportation costs, we would do it. We're at 165,000 for that. Looking into, employees, employee benefits, equipment. I can't justify it right now.
We also have the issue of, it is very difficult to find a CDL driver. And we struggled with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we had, this last 6 months was the first time that John's department has been fully staffed in the 7 years I've been here.
You need a CDL versus driving a truck around with a bunch of things in the back with these plastic.
No, they're all of our
Oh.
drivers for our town
Yeah.
are CDL drivers.
Cause I mean, I've been to a ton of dumps, so I had to gather signatures like whole summer. And, the majority of the towns have their own employee, town worker that was also transporting the trash to like West Gardner.
Yeah, they probably had a CDL driver. I'm just saying that it's not always easy to hire.
CDLA.
Eh.
Because you're.
Oh, that would be an A too, you're right. It would be an A.
All right, that's all I have.
This gentleman,
Yeah, there are two comments I wanted to make. Dan belated. One was a thank you to the staff we've got at the dump and Bruce, and these guys work awful hard. Job, and I want to make sure I came here and said that today. The other thing is, I think we should also turn around. We're talking about, where should I put this trash? Should I put this? Should I recycle that? Well, where did it come from? Where did you get this? And where quite often the answer is, you got something you didn't even want in the first place. If you bought some spinach at Hannaford, it came in a big plastic tub instead of like spinach in a paper bag. Or if you bought something at Amazon and it came in a giant cardboard box, and it's just a little teeny thing, and then it's full of a bunch of plastic bubbles or beans. Where did that come from? And I don't know what we collectively can do to turn around and go to Hannaford and say, quit selling me this crap. It's trash. I don't want it. If we could reduce it that way, we wouldn't have the problem of where we're gonna put.
yeah, amen. And I'd like to say that Maine as a state is beginning to address the issue. They have something in the law now called extended producer responsibility. And it's gonna make the producers pay for the stuff they bring into the state. It's gonna be a very nightmarish system to administer. But the plant up in Hampton is gonna help do that. They're gonna have the resources and the data needed to eventually get some monies back to the towns that have to pay to recycle this stuff. It's not a panacea. It's a can of worms. And I couldn't agree with you more about some of these stores and the packaging they use. And there's no reason we can't, as individuals, complain to them. I bet if all of us went down at Hannaford's after this meeting and complained, they might sit up and take notice. But they may not, but yeah.
They gotta stop taking the plastic.
Yeah.
Carlton, you have not had a chance.
A number of things. This question has been in front of us for 25 years. I've had the conversations, we've had the conversations in the 90s. And in the 90s, we were dealing with PERC, our tipping fees were much lower, the transportation was much lower. And the decision was made, and actually the recycling was higher, and we were making money on it. So the decision was made that the setup was functioning as it was traveling. And at this juncture, it would appear that the system's not functioning. And your meeting is here trying to get the public comment so that whatever decisions are made, the public has an investment and that we work together as a community. Certainly sounds like education is a component. And how do you cause people who aren't recycling now to recycle is going to be a key. Because the 15 or 18% that you're getting now is done by people who do choose to recycle.
Right.
And are working to recycle.
Yep.
And are probably a majority of this room.
Yeah, but 90% of the plastic that you get is not recyclable. That's the problem, it's not like,
Yeah.
I mean, what is it, number two? The only one they'll recycle?
Yeah.
John, you had your hand up.
Yeah,
You
you've
haven't
been patient,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, so, John Burgess, Waldeboro, just, I mean, great comments, and thank you all. On that note, drive your purchasing decisions by what the product is packaged in. Okay, if it's in a number one plastic container, don't buy it. Get it in glass, get it in a bag or something else. But this is, it's really interesting. What we have is we have a lot of people that are unaware that the transfer station takes compost, takes household. But 30% of your garbage, okay, by weight, minimum, is compostable material that you can actually drop off in your garbage at the transfer station in the blue barrels next to the thing. You know, everybody's busy. I totally get it. And I've talked to a lot of people about recycling and they're like, wait a second, I've got cans and I've got bottles and I can, and the glass has to be this color and the plastic has to be this number and everything. Well, pick one thing. And I'm thinking of education or, you know, people need to know about the program. I'm happy to volunteer to set up a table at Waldeboro Day. I'll drive around in a car and be the garbage, you know, the recycling evangelist. But, you know, to make it easy, everybody, you know, if you're a recycler, and you know somebody who doesn't, just tell them to pick one thing. Okay, and show them how to do it. Paper bags from Hanover, put your newspapers in. Put your paper stuff, all the junk mail you get in it. That stuff is, you know, super easy. Cans are super easy. Kids, you mentioned the kids have a program. You know, that's where we need to start. And,
Exactly.
you know, is great. And the schools, but they also need support at home. They go home, mom, dad are like, you know, they're just hanging on. And so, you know, maybe we tell the kids, hey, well, you know, go home and say, mom, dad, I'll do the one thing. You know, but, you know, we're choking on garbage, you know, and it is money. Okay, whether you see it or not, you're gonna pay more to get rid of this stuff. The problem with recycling is that if it doesn't have value, it's not gonna get recycled. That's why we only recycle, number two and the bulky plastic. But anyway, what the point I wanted to make was that we really need kind of a unified look at this. We got to start with, I feel that we need to start with educating people about what we're doing right now. I mean, we do take compost, we do take cardboard, we do take paper, what we take and how, and maybe some videos on how they can do it. We need to get businesses, the town businesses involved that make sure that they're on board with recycling. And if they're doing takeout food, that they're not serving it in number one plastic or in things that can't be recycled. And, you know, get them on board. Talked about the school thing. And the other thing is the trash haulers. The trash haulers are a big part of this. They have to accommodate and help and encourage recycling. They're a big, you know, I don't know how many constituents there are, or customers there are total for trash haulers, but they need to be able to accommodate those recyclables and they need to be responsible for them to help the program.
We've done videos. People have gone to school, taught the kids. This has been ongoing quite a few years. Every time we bring out page to throw, everybody says education. So we've done that. All right, we've handed out flyers.
So there's the carrot
Um,
and the stick, and then the
Yep.
carrot, and now the stick is, you're gonna have to pay to throw. Because you need
Yeah,
some motivation.
And as far as businesses, most businesses are doing business with Riverside, which the trash isn't even coming at the transfer station because it's cheaper. Most every business in this town. And they don't have to pay for disposal costs.
Sell it to us, you gotta take it all,
That's right.
so.
That's right. So that's, another thing. You know. It's to the point where if you want people to do it, you charge them. We're at that point. This has been a good many years. The facility up there opened up in '89. This has been talked about almost every 10 years, and it's still not getting anywhere. And it's costing us more and more. The price increase, like I said, is $144 a ton. This is just for the trash. That's more than what I'm paying for Hot Top Road per ton.
Ain't been much of that going on either, has it?
I don't know, we got over $1,500,000.
There's a
going.
lady in the back who had her hand up and I just,
35 years ago when I lived in Seattle, before recycling was a huge thing. Used to go to Safeway, which was the Hannaford of the area, and they had recycling kind of boxes and big barrels, so you brought your newspapers, your cans, and then that all went away because it became curbside recycling. But it also put it in the mind that that was something you did, because you saw it every time you went to the grocery store, recycle, recycle, recycle. I'm astonished that people, the kids say they didn't know they could recycle cans, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe the Hannaford needs to have a few bins out there that says, you can bring back all your spinach, stupid plastic boxes and we put them right in this thing because, otherwise you're gonna have to pay to put them in the trash.
I can roll.
All right, Hannaford used to do recycling. They take all the trash bags. All right, nobody would take, all the plastic little trash bags. They took them for years. Nobody was dropping them off there. We take them at transfer station and we cat them down there for them. So that didn't work,
So John, can I ask a question to John? John's brought it up, we're struggling as a committee with this pay-as-you-throw idea because, it's a big step.
Yep.
I'd like to hear from the crowd, how many people are in favor of pay-as-you-throw, so if we can just get like a hands on that.
I think that's the only way we're gonna get.
And how many people are against it? And if you're against it, why? Like,
Oh,
why?
it's easy.
Yeah.
Why should we pay for people that don't recycle? It's simple.
so why
They
don't we
wanna
go-
be
so if
lazy.
you keep your hands up, then
Pay
we can go
for
one
it.
by one.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if
If
you're
they don't
against,
wanna recycle,
Let's just
pay
find
extra
out.
money.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
You, sir, what's,
Unavoidable. It's gonna be unavoidable. We created this mess, we have to deal with it constantly, day in, day out. Yeah, that's because they're being lazy. But it's, whatever. We have to accept, even if it's a nickel and dime here and there. We don't pay enough
Can the
in other
people
places.
who were against it put their hands back up so that we can get to there's a lady, I'm gonna try to go this side of the room, the person right there, the lady right there, go ahead. You don't have to keep them up the whole time, just after somebody's.
Here, it's a pain to recycle. Why is it a pain to recycle? Why is it that, why can't people recycle? I recycle. If I don't know where it goes, I ask Bruce, where does it go? I mean, it takes no more time to do that than get off your cell phone.
So.
so you're
anybody
against
else?
pay-as-you-throw because you think we should be recycling more.
No, I'm against that because I recycle. I'm
Right.
sure a lot of people here.
We shouldn't be
recycle,
punished for
but
doing it.
Because other people don't want to recycle, I have to pay the extra because of that.
Okay, more hands so we
I
can,
don't think that's right. I think there's big confusion here.
Oh, yeah, I do too.
Well, we mainly have said that the base of it is because right on, people aren't recycling. That has been the whole idea.
Is to, it actually incentivizes recycling.
And for people who throw away less trash because they recycle, you won't pay as much.
No,
for
but
your-
that's not the point, but I'm still paying. And when you say people will recycle because, no, they won't, they'll just pay it. Or it will end up on the side of the road.
There's,
Yes.
so if everybody can just, I want to give everybody a chance to speak. So there's a Mr. Carmichael in the back, and then I'll work my way back up front.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn between the idea of paying stuff, mainly because there's a good portion of the town that may not be able to afford to buy the bags. And if it comes to that, then there'll be, I already picked up a ton of trash on the side of the road, and I throw it away at the town recycling station. And I'm not paying an extra bag to do that. So that's why I do it. And the majority of what I find on the side of the road is recyclable stuff. So, you know, there's cans that are worth 5 cents and tobacco product stuff all over the place. I could take pictures and document everything, but I don't have that much time. But I think that the issue is that some people may not be able to afford the bags and they'll just continue to just discard it in places that they shouldn't.
Yes, I think that the problem with paying as you go, you call it, is people are not gonna pay. What they're gonna do is they're gonna take their tires and their TVs and all their other stuff, right? The ones that don't wanna deal with the right way, and they're gonna toss it on the side of the road, like on Old Augusta Road. Tires, TVs, you name it. Been there for 4 years that I know about. And that's the way people deal with this thing, right? So the only people you're gonna get to do what should be done is probably us here, right? But the people that's out there that don't give two craps about it, are just gonna keep doing what they do. And, that's how it's gonna go.
Mike?
I have about a third of a mile of road frontage, and I can't tell you the number of times I've gone around and picked up deposit cans. But I've also picked up bags of trash already, even without an incentive to throw them away. And I've picked up in a couple of years, 25 tires, and it's only $2 to get rid of a tire at the landfill, and they're still throwing them on my property. And I'll tell you, at the last select board meeting that we had, I went home from that meeting and we just raised the price of disposing of mattresses, and on my road, there were a couple of dead mattresses. It's gonna cause a big problem if we have pay as you throw. There's gonna be trash by the side of the road, and the property owners are the ones that are gonna get.
I just want to get through all the comments. So anybody else who's against, Brendan?
Yeah, the reason that I'm opposed to it is that it's a regressive tax structure. Right now, because it's all being paid for out of property taxes, the richer people in town are subsidizing the poorer people in town. You know, if you own $1 million home, you're paying more of a share of the landfill costs, the transfer station costs, than a single mother of 3 living in a trailer park. And when you go to pay as you throw, all of a sudden that burden gets shifted down onto the poorer people in town.
Who else wants to? Go ahead, Evan.
I got a question. What's it cost per
Well,
household?
Well, can we,
Let's find out.
can we
This
do the
relates to
question?
it. This
Okay.
relates to it. What does it cost per household per the transfer station?
Well,
But it relates to what it's gonna cost them, like Brandon just.
no, I understand.
Is it will cost the
It-
poorer people more money.
You're right. I see what you're saying in the,
$20 a year, $30 a year per household. Versus what it's gonna cost them to pay $2 to $3 a bag with the prices that we've been hearing. So it's at 10 bags, if they produce that in a month,
so.
they're already over what they would pay in their taxes.
So
Can I-
none of
First
the
one.
research, so I don't want to get into answering, I was trying to get,
Well,
and I understand,
That's why I'm against it.
I understand, but I don't want to get into talking about numbers because the transfer station committee hasn't even made the decision to move forward to even look at that. So I can't tell you that at the moment. So so who else is against that wants to have a comment and explain? There's a hand in the back I see, but I can't see their face. I'm sorry.
I just want, I think that the implementation is going to be so costly to try to shift the burden of $1 million budget onto people buying bags and the limited audience that we have for buying bags. So how much would a bag, and I know we're not talking numbers, but how much potentially would a bag have to cost? And how many would have to be purchased to support $1 million? Now, some of the towns, I think in Maine, are doing like half of their budget is from taxes and half is from fees from bags or stickers, that type of implementation. But, once we do get the numbers, I mean, it could very well be that a bag could cost $5 for one. And you might want to say you have to buy them in bulk, so those type of things, we're not talking numbers, but
They're important
they're very
questions.
important.
They are definitely. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not against this, it's just a suggestion. Do you want to just hear all the?
Yeah, we're kind of trying to get anybody else against that wants to have a comment, why?
I just want to share, I'm not clear that we've tried all that we can to incentivize recycling. Like when you come to the dump, is half of your stuff recycling and half of it's trash, or are you just bringing trash? Are there other ways to approach this that we haven't tried? I'm just not
Such
clear
as?
that we tried that. What's that?
Such as?
When you pull into the dump,
Please.
you have your stuff.
Yep.
Does someone say, oh yeah, you have your stuff's recycling, great, you can go ahead. Oh, you're not bringing any recycling and you just have trash? That's a problem.
That's how you get the stuff thrown on the side of the road.
But that's my concern about the.
I see what you're
living
saying.
in this community. and
I came in late. But my-
Pay by the bag. My concern about the pay by the bag is that people will just dump it inappropriately. They'll burn it, they'll bury it, they'll put it in their backyards. They just won't buy the bags.
I came in late, but my guess is that most of the people in this room recycle. We're kind of talking to the choir. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the only kind of people
That's
who might
right.
get in the room to talk
You
about
don't
it.
have to, I mean,
Because we care.
and that's an issue, because even counting ants. It's, if you do recycle, of course you don't want to pay.
But I do think that just from the comments we've heard here, this is what has been echoed, I will say. And I, on Facebook, because when this first came out, there was a lot of conversation. And it is everything that everybody brought up here is about those concerns, which you need to hear, is what people brought up on Facebook too, was the cost and the dumping and things like that. And I know, having not been here for the process the last time, I can't
It was
speak to a lot
defeated,
of it.
85% against and 15% for. We did all that work and that's what we got as a result. So here we are, 10 years later, with $1 million costing us to get rid of the stuff. Let me finish.
$1 million.
Let me finish,
Is that
please.
right?
Let me finish. And insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well,
Well, but
we haven't had that result.
But I think what,
Okay, so you're gonna answer my question or what?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
The $1 million, what does that cover?
It covers your operating costs, your tipping fees, your insurance,
So it's paying.
salaries,
people up
benefits.
there and all the equipment and everything.
Yep.
So this $1 million isn't just to move trash, it's to pay for the people to.
That's
dispose
right.
of Trash.
Yep.
Well, it's more than that. That's the end disposal. When it's taken to a landfill, there's hauling costs, but then it's dumped in landfill, and it doesn't sound like there's all that much effort in that. You just dump it, but no, that's not what happens.
I won't forget.
Every landfill has to have daily cover, so they have to bring in soil and they have to drop soil on top of it. And then after that soil is built up, the landfill's about to close, they have to cap it with bentonite, which is a clay which prevents water infiltration. So it's actually a complicated thing to dispose of waste in a landfill. And it's an expensive thing because you gotta mine that soil for the cover.
Kat, I'm sorry, you had a question.
So I actually had a suggestion, with the pay as you throw. What if every household was allotted a certain number of bags per year? And you'd have to adjust it for the size of the household. and way, I mean, it's the same kind of incentive that you want to throw away the less of the trash, but I think people start off with a certain number that were free. And they want to make those bags last as long as they can, because they can still throw things away for free. Then you don't feel punished if you're somebody who's recycled everything you can and you still have to pay. It's just an idea that maybe just put some up.
I actually would like to just point out, you don't have to buy bags to do a pay-as-you-throw program. Coming from the town of Freeport, they just use the punch card system. You showed up with the same hefty bag you bought at Hannaford, and you had a punch card, and for every 2 bags you disposed of, it was 1 punch. It worked out to about 50 cents a bag. And the idea was not to pay for everything, but it subsidized the transfer station, so they didn't have to stand in line with all the other town organizations and the school district and fight for that. It was just some money they could keep internal in the department to offset their operating costs.
Michael had a comment.
Don, you said that of the, what was it, roughly 220 or so transfer stations in Maine, some 140 or 60 do pay as you throw.
Yes.
So I would like to know what have been the effects in those communities after pay as you throw has been enforced? And are they having the same problems that people here are saying could happen in Waldeboro? If they're not having the same problems, why do we think they're going to happen here? And they may indeed happen here, but then that's a question that's specific to this community and what makes this community different, which is something that would then need to be discussed. Or we're saying things that could happen that with these other test cases have not happened. So why aren't we interested in knowing what the effect was in these many towns that actually put pay as you throw forward?
Actually, on these towns that have pay as you throw, trash dump inside the road was a problem for the first 3 months. And then it stopped. For most of them, the recycling tripled. And the trash, dropped at least half, if not more. Waterville, I'm trying to think, I think they were running like 10,000 tons of trash. I think they're down to 4 or 5 now.
Okay, so just to follow up, so do we think that that wouldn't happen in Waldeboro? And if we think it won't happen, why do we think that way? What is so special about the problems of Waldeboro? Obviously, it has problems, but are they so different than other communities that are suffering issues that we identify as prevalent here?
It's the same all over the country.
What's the same?
I got a building in Newport and it goes up 25% a year. Get rid of the dump, get the dumpster empty.
No, I was just saying that some of the bad side effects that people are worried about aren't happening in these other towns. So why do we think they would happen here? And if they do happen here, it's something about this place specifically that we need to discuss further.
Right.
Well, even where there's no incentive to do it, people are still, as this gentleman said, throwing tires and trash along the side of the road. So there's.
People have done that
Yeah,
for years.
Exactly. I've been along the shore and stuff washes up on the beach that you wouldn't believe. And so I can't imagine that if you start charging, that it won't continue and get worse.
Well, what happens is people get upset and they see it and they sort of see the vehicle and they say, wait a minute, I had to pay, you're just throwing aside the road, and they turn them in. And that's what most towns and cities have said. Really not a problem. You know.
Sandy, I'm sorry.
So I don't have the statistics in front of me to know how many people in households with the tax basis. Is there an equation we can do that if you pay so much taxes, you're allowed so much, and whether it's a punch card or not? Or if there's so many people in the family that you're allowed so many bags?
I think there's a ton of ways you could do it.
And then afterwards charge them, allow them so much, and then if they go over it, they pay.
I think there's a ton of ways you could do it. But they haven't even started looking at that yet.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I don't have the statistics. either.
Right,
No.
but I think that's all the stuff that they'd have to gather. They did this once already.
We don't want to do it again if it's just gonna get voted down. I mean, it just isn't worth it.
So it doesn't have to be voted if you make.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the towns have to
and
vote.
That's one thing I wanted to point out too, is that this isn't some decision that the transfer committee gets to make, or even the select boards. This would have to go to the voters and be voted on by the voters.
When would it go?
Well, I don't know if anybody's realized this, but we have a presidential election in November. So, I mean, at least for the town of Waldeboro, the recommendation was if it has to go, it should go when you have the biggest voter turnout, because that would be when people are going to participate.
Would Cushing and Friendship also vote on it?
Yes.
Yes.
We vote for president. Just a quick question, what is the alternative? See, we have a hole in the budget and we do not go for the pay as you throw. The money has to come from somewhere.
Right.
So.
It's generated in your property
taxes are gonna
taxes.
go up.
Yep, yep.
But I think we have to be careful about that. I think we have to be really careful when we say things like that, because that's what gets people upset is. I don't ever want to give anybody the impression that your property taxes are going to go down. Because
They're not.
I'm gonna tell you, and this is where people get the feeling that they're being charged twice. And we have to be careful with that, because you're going to have to pay as you throw, and then you're going to still have to pay taxes. And is there going to be hopefully savings from that? What happens with that savings? Does it go to property tax relief? Or does it go to the capital for the upkeep? So I don't even wanna get into that that conversation makes me nervous every time, because I will tell you, I've been doing this a very long time. I've never met a select board that ever said, let's raise taxes. And they want to do that as a goal, ever. But I get really nervous when we start talking about that there's a trade-off there.
If we're not winding down, we probably should be winding down,
Yes.
but I'd hate for us to leave without getting some ideas about education. I think if we'd all agree that if we educate, in fact, you heard the questions that people asked here, we didn't know, and we're the people that recycle. So what ideas do we have that we can put on a big education program and see if that doesn't
So
move the
what I
change
think,
in a certain direction?
so this to me was, and I don't know what it is to the transfer station committee,
Very
the first
helpful.
of hopefully a many series of meetings that happens over the summer, because we also want to meet while there's people who are here for the summer. And talk about those things. And I will tell you right now, the education has to start with the committee and maybe active members who are really excited about recycling and things like that. And there's always openings on the transfer station committee from all the towns. So if you are interested in it, please let us know. Because I think that's really important that, you know, John can sit there or Bruce can sit there and I can tell you, it means a lot more. If a public servant tells you, it's a public servant telling you to do something. It's government telling you to do something. If your neighbor tells you to do something or encourages you, it comes off a little bit better. So I think you're right. Citizen engagement and education is a big part of this. But I think what they're kind of wanting to see is it even worth pursuing? Is it even worth having the discussion and continuing the discussion? Am
Of
I
what?
right or wrong here?
Of what? Education?
No, whether to do pay as you throw. Sandy had a question.
So the consensus I'm feeling here is that's on the table, whether we pay to throw.
Well, I don't, I
Pursue it.
Yes, okay, so on two things, when you said, you're right, it's not gonna decrease our taxes, it's not gonna raise them either if we don't have to pay that much more money for trash. So it has its fold that way versus the reverse, but at least you're not paying $1 million more than you would last year because you don't have that much trash. So it's kind of on the table. Do we take it little by little and be conscientious of what we spend?
well,
What we throw away?
but I think that the questions that the transfer station committee had was, one, is this worth pursuing? Do people feel like it is worth pursuing for them to take their time and do all the research and information that has to go with it to present it to the voters, number one. And correct me if I'm wrong. And number two, I think they want to stay open to other ideas like the education idea, like that goes hand in hand. You know, you can't educate people.
Yeah,
enough.
and to address the question that Abden raised.
But
Yeah.
I mean, you can't prove something with numbers.
Right.
But people can look at the way it's structured and say, yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, if, just for example, and these are not numbers you can take home to rely on, but there's 27 households in Waldeboro. I'm just talking about Waldeboro. Waldeboro has 65% of that budget, give or take. That's $650,000. You divide that 2,700 into the $650,000, and you get about $377 per household to support Waldeboro's entire contribution to that budget. $377. Are you going to sit there and tell me you're going to pay that kind of money for a bunch of bags, throw your garbage away? I don't think so. But don't take that argument home because it's provisional. We have a lot of work to do if we're going to do it about how to figure out the cost of bags and whether people even want to do it.
Carl,
I think the first thing I would say is that when we're talking about this, we've been presented with the fact that the transfer station budget is $1 million. No one here should think that the bringing in pay for bag or whatever is going to reduce a budget that probably has $750,000 of hard cost. That no matter what we do, we're gonna have that amount in the budget. It has, I don't know what it is, I plucked the
It's
number.
less than that number, but you're right.
Yes,
The
so
hard costs are there.
the reality is that we're looking at reducing a fraction of the overall budget. And we're looking that no matter what happens, a good portion of that budget is going to still stay subsidized by the town. Julie, one of the statements you made disenfranchised me from pay for throw, and it always has disenfranchised me, is that it's not going to change my property tax much. So now, what is my financial incentive to try and cause pay for throw? There isn't. It's an emotional incentive. How do we get an emotional incentive to get people to do something they're not doing?
and that's why it's very hard. Exactly what you said, because there is cost built in that your tax dollars still have to cover, and it gets very hard and people get very emotional about that. They genuinely feel emotion about that, because they feel whether it's valid or not, that they're paying twice. Abden, you had your hand up and I didn't want to. Okay.
I just wanted to address the basic question is it's worth pursuing. And I think if the question goes to the voters as is, do you agree to be charged the bag? Because I don't know how we can reach and educate people. I had an election day. There's no chance they're gonna vote yes. It's gonna be voted down. Yeah, that's my.
John, you wanted to say something?
The other thing, Carlton, that we're running into up there, I've got a lot of people that do recycle. I've got a lot of older people. It can be pouring rain. They'll be recycling. Some young person, 30s, 40 years old, 20 years old, will come in with a whole pickup load of trash. There's nothing that I can do. And he can just dump it in there. And it's getting, so it's happening all the time. I don't have a thing that I can do. And it's just foolishness. These people are throwing whatever in there. I mean, why would you put a toilet, throw it down the hopper? We have a place in back. Why would you do wood? So that's the other thing that I'm looking for. If you turn around and went pay for throw, all right, I could go after him. Okay, it's gonna cost you But we've got a lot of people that recycle, they really do. I've seen it time and time.
Yes, you haven't spoken at all.
Leave the group or the meeting with the impression that education hasn't been tried.
Right.
Beginning in 1991, at least in Cushing, there were multiple projects to reach people both on a practical and altruistic level. We had lecture series, we had dances, all kinds of events that were used as educational opportunities. So maybe the older people that are recycling were some of the ones that took part in these things.
Well, education has to be continuous. It can't be episodic. You know, you gotta always do it, otherwise it comes out of your mind.
That's right. There's a new group of people that have come since, this effort. That's right.
Yeah.
The gentleman from French.
Yeah, I can simplify it. What's gonna happen is people that recycle, the budget's gonna keep going up every year. If they're not gonna recycle, so like I said, charge them for, you know, if they don't have any recycles, make them pay $5-10, whatever it is. Say, look, you recycle, we won't charge you anymore. Something's gonna be done.
Lady in the back.
Yeah, this is a question out of ignorance. I've never been to the transfer station.
Yep.
So you made a comment just now about the fact that somebody can bring in a truck and there's nothing that you can do about what happens.
Nope.
Why is that? Is there no, I mean, I have been to other transfer stations.
Yep.
And they have set up, I'm thinking of one in particular, before you can even go into the property.
Yep.
You know, where they take everything, they stop and they look at what you have.
Yep.
And they say, okay, you know, this goes here, that goes there, this goes here, you can't dump that. You know, that's not here, it's in another state I'm
Right.
talking about.
Right.
So why is it that you can't enforce anything?
Because we don't have the authority to enforce anything.
And so why is that there's no authority? Has it never been?
Because people
discussed
consider
before?
it,
Has it never been voted on?
no, because people consider it pay as you throw. And everybody doesn't want to do that. They consider it pay as you throw. Yeah.
But it's not pay as you throw, but you're
Yep.
simply saying that you can't, this is what you have to do. I
Yep.
mean, why are there no rules and regulations about what can and cannot be
The
dumped?
legislature hasn't voted in him
Yeah.
the authority to
Right.
do something like that.
The state legislature.
No.
Well, whatever, town
No, this one.
legislature,
Yeah.
whichever
That's
legislature
what
there
I'm
is.
asking.
Yep.
Thank
Yep.
you.
So I just want to say that when you start looking in people's garbage bags,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, I won't have any employees at the transfer station. You know, maybe make everybody have clear garbage bags, but I can, you know, I mean, I think there has to be. I think these are all great ideas, but I think we have to have, this isn't going to be solved all tonight. But I think we can start having our monthly meetings, hopefully, and ideas like this can come up, but. You're right, maybe that's something that could be looked at is what. We could do to make sure things like that don't happen.
We've tried everything and we even did open up every garbage bag that came in. I had previous selectmen and everything else, and I didn't care who they was. We opened it up. It didn't take long. The town manager shut us down after 2 weeks.
That wasn't me.
Nope.
I wasn't here.
But we did increase the recycling over 30%. Just in 2 weeks.
And our ordinance does allow John to do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you want to be on his side of the table? Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think we're gonna have to cut the comment short, and if the actual committee has something to end with.
So I'd like to say that, number 3 on almost all of our agendas is public comments. We would love to have you show up at our meetings once, you know, probably we can't handle this many at one time.
Oh.
But if you,
Absolutely.
but if you started to come, you know, it's like, okay, I'm going next week, I'm going next month, I'm going next month, I'm going next month. And you came in, as we are looking for ideas. I mean, the biggest thing is, what this whole thing started with, is we need ideas because, as he says, it ain't working, so let's do it again, okay? And so we need ideas from you guys. That's me. Go for it, Bubba.
I'm new. I told you all the way in. I don't have a clue. Not, I mean, about this, but I. No, but I mean.
I got all sorts of ideas.
You have something in your head, you're thinking, that's the right way, whether it's your way or my way, but. Paper bag isn't gonna work in Friendship, because they're gonna throw it in pin down, just like they do now. And,
We'll put some cameras in.
yeah, there's no enforcement of anything anyway.
Ben?
Yeah, with the customer clientele I have, it's getting the majority of the people to get on board. Like it's been said here, I have probably 30% that do it really well. The other part, it's touch and go, and it's also doing the recycling appropriately where I can actually manage it and do something with it. I still get a lot of people that will take a 55-gallon contractor bag and single stream style, and so they'll throw everything in a contractor bag. There's not enough time in the day for me to rip open that contractor bag and sort everything that's in that. So as the commercial hauler aspect goes, having people do it appropriately and separated the way it needs to be separated, and the education part too, I think of instances of the Airbnbs and the rentals and places like that. They're unfamiliar with the area, unfamiliar how things are done. And so trying to get everybody on board on the same page and just trying to get the majority of the group to just start and put an effort into to try and that's going to be the challenge.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out because,
Yes.
as a committee, we're trying to reflect the will of the people and come up with the best solutions. We don't really have an agenda. And so to hear from what everybody's thinking is great. I mean, the one solid thing I heard that I'm on board with is sticker program. So I think we should really work on that as a committee, is getting that figured out. And then hopefully we'll build some momentum here where people can continue to be involved in helping us out with this tough situation.
Monica?
I just want to address something that keeps coming up, and that's the trash is going to appear at the roadside. We've heard this since we started this, thinking about pay as you throw, 2016. I think that we could just consider picking up the trash at the side of the road as the cost of implementing this program. And so, yes, there's going to be trash that's appearing. Each town in Cushing, we have a once-a-year roadside cleanup. We do that. If with that and not worrying about what we have to then pick up over the year, let's just do it. And people eventually will take more pride in their house. Those that don't will just continue to pick up their trash. I don't see why we have to throw this whole important idea down into the toilet once again and not move ahead, because this committee sitting up there is going to put enormous hours in with all the proposals and still not have convinced the population that is going to be voting it down. So I just want you to just say, let's factor in some of the problems and still let's just see if this program will work even with handicaps.
Okay, well,
I'd like to close this part of the meeting by saying thank you. I've learned a lot. This has really been helpful. Hearing people who are in favor of recycling, everybody in this room is in favor of recycling, but look at the variety of opinions and concepts that we've heard tonight. It's diverse. People have an interest. It's emotional. So we have our work cut out for us. I just want to ask one question, and this isn't, the question isn't to decide whether we adopt pay as you throw or not. That's not the question I'm asking. The question I'm asking is, should this committee work on putting forth a pay-as-you-throw proposal? Should we spend our time doing that? And I would like a raise, just an indication of how many people would like us to do that, to see what we come up with.
To have a part year pay-as-you-throw thing.
I'm sorry?
Like, we're doing it good to have a pay-as-you-throw. A regular thing as part of the year, part of the year you don't pay it. As a.
You mean do it during the tourist season? And then not do it afterward?
Sort of, just a.
That's an interesting idea. That's a really interesting idea.
Because we're all, a lot of people have their own business.
Yeah.
And a lot of people did because of COVID, even before, but now I've noticed a lot of people are doing for home businesses.
Yep.
I've seen. Pickup trucks, even cars, come in with full of cardboard and these elderly people and I'm thinking they could be doing it. Extra work for trash, making money, or they could be their home business. And the home business does create the extra cardboard stuff, but I thought it. Maybe an incentive of some sort. Part of the year pays you go, part of the year you don't, or something like that.
Okay.
Oh, it's just.
Mr. Butler, the only thing to answer your question is this group here is not representative of our general population. This group here has an interest, whatever the interest is. So whatever we respond to that answer was going to be somewhat misleading. What I, as a citizen, concerned about this committee is that you would spend the time invested, as you've talked about, and that brick wall hurts again because you get 15% for or 20% for. And so I think the question that needs to be answered for both you people here is how can we communicate with the population at large so that your work does pay off if you've got a larger percentage of people who might be interested in supporting whatever concepts you have. Because right now, when we have 7,000 souls in the 3 communities, and we have 50 people here, it's a real small sense.
True.
And,
Thank you.
you know, your work is worthwhile and your time is valuable. So we do need to assist you in making sure that it's put to the best use.
Well said, Carlton. Thank you.
Well, I guess we can say thank everybody for coming.
Well,